Good Monday morning. It's 5:30. Welcome to Montana This Morning on Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. And Miller joins us now from home. Miller, how are things going over there?
Everything's going well. I got a couple of emails asking if I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. Just at home here as a precaution. But look out, Victoria and the rest of the gang. Plan is I'm coming back on Wednesday morning.
In the building?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I am.
Yes, that's the plan. Yeah.
All right.
Should be.
Cool. They removed the restraining order, so now
Cool.
we're all good, right?
All right. Yeah, the authorities haven't quite caught up with me yet, so let's go. All right. Let me talk about some stuff that's going on weather-wise. Let me show you some the conditions out there right now. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s, or actually 20s and 30s. We'll try to get into the 30s and 40s today. We are above average. We should be in the teens. Now, hold on to that thought, because as we get into the weekend, we do have some cold Canadian air that's going to come on in, and that's going to try to chill us down, and we may not get above freezing as we get into the weekend. Big story right now is you can see a smattering of snow and rain all across Montana and in northern Wyoming. This is just hot off the presses. We do have a winter storm warning that's now in effect until 9 o'clock this evening for our friends up in Marr County. Those are in elevations of above 4,000 feet, and where you can see an additional 3 to 6 inches of snow, and they could see winds gusting up to about 35 miles an hour. You get above 6,000 feet, you're looking at 6 to 10 inches of snow. We're seeing some light flurries possibly here in Billings, basically just seeing some rain as we go along today. Just a slight chance, in fact, only going to go with about a 30% chance today. Thursday night into Saturday, we do have another area of low pressure going to develop, we anticipate, along the Pacific coastline. That will come into the area, and if it combines quick enough, matches up and tag teams with the colder air from Canada, we actually have a decent chance of seeing some snow here in Billings, and we'll tell you more about that with the main forecast coming up. But our temperatures today, I've got the day planner saying a high of 37. I'm going to go with a high of about 40 here in Billings. We could see some breezy conditions the further you go into the eastern part of Montana. We definitely could see some gusts over 30 miles an hour, and we'll tell you more about that with full forecast coming up here in just a bit.
All right. We're all tired of that wind, so hopefully your forecast has some, no wind. Rid of wind. All right, Miller. Thank you so much. Our top story this Monday morning. It's shaping up to be a busy week in Washington, D.C. The nation's capital is locked down with thousands of National Guardsmen in place ahead of Wednesday's inauguration. There are some concerns about an attack from within. The FBI is vetting all 25,000 National Guard troops now stationed in Washington. President Trump is set to leave the White House early Wednesday morning, but will not attend the inauguration ceremony. He's planning to give remarks at a farewell event at Joint Base Andrews before boarding Air Force One for the last time. The added security in D.C. has already led to arrest. One person carrying 500 rounds of ammunition was arrested over the weekend after trying to use fake credentials to get near the Capitol. A day later, police say someone impersonated law enforcement and tried to use a military challenge coin to get access to a secure zone. They were also taken into custody. And there will still be people heading to Washington, D.C. who want to protest peacefully. Reporter Joe St. George shows us how those people will be accommodated while keeping safety as a top priority.
When protesters show up here in Washington for the inauguration, this is one of 2 First Amendment zones that have been established. This is John Marshall Park near the Canadian Embassy, where protesters will be allowed to gather. You can see the plastic shield keeps them in. We are located right off of Pennsylvania Avenue, and you can see the Capitol behind us, but you can also see that we're quite far from the actual inaugural stage. One question you may have is, why are people bothering to come here at all? Unlike January 6th, President Trump is not calling for a rally, and President-elect Joe Biden has told his supporters not to come at all because of the pandemic. We found Gino Ross in town from California and asked her that question. Everybody said don't come to D.C., stay away, but you guys still came.
Well, we planned this trip. We didn't know it was going to go down like this, we're here for history. We're not here because of the protest. We're not here. We want to see the Capitol.
Still, the security around the Capitol enough to make even inauguration regulars intimidated. Inside the Capitol this past weekend, it looked like a military camp. National Guardsmen on cots, some playing cards, just to pass the time. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
As the presidency changes hands this week, so will several policies that affect everyday life. President-elect Biden has said his top priority is COVID-19. He wants to do things like enforce mask wearing, issue more vaccines, and pass more economic relief. Biden also wants to expand on the Affordable Care Act, including measures to make insurance less expensive. There may also be some tightening of gun laws under the Biden administration. On his final full day in office, President Trump plans to issue around 100 pardons and commutations. The president will reportedly pardon white-collar criminals, high-profile rappers, and others tomorrow. President Trump is not expected to grant himself a pardon. Last night, the White House held a meeting to finalize their list. These pardons are one of several items the president must complete before his presidency ends. In other news, Montana could be in line for another seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. The state had 2 congressional districts until one was lost in 1993 when a struggling economy forced many people to move away. But the state's population has been rising since then. Early 2020 census numbers will be released in March, and experts say we're right on the verge of qualifying for seat number 2. The population is estimated at 1,070,000 today, meaning if Montana did send another representative to Washington, each person would represent about 500,000 people.
I'm hoping that we'll get one. Montana could use a second representative. You know, the economies of the east and western portions of the state are significantly different. Each region could use a congressman to concentrate on their constituents' needs in those respective areas.
If Montana gains a second congressional district, the election to decide who gets to occupy that seat will occur in November of 2022, with the winner taking office in January of 2030. You can offer input and keep up to date on the commission's work by visiting the story link in this story on our website. Well, this week marks 1 year since the first recorded COVID-19 case in the U.S. On January 20th, 2020, a patient in Washington state tested positive. CNN's John Lawrence has details on our nation's current situation.
As the U.S. prepares for a new president to take office with a plan to attack the COVID-19 pandemic, the nation's death toll is nearing the 400,000 mark. The incoming director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the U.S. has some dark weeks ahead.
By the middle of February, we expect 500,000 deaths in this country. That doesn't speak to the tens of thousands of people who are living with a yet uncharacterized syndrome after they've recovered.
As vaccines slowly roll out, the U.S. is struggling to get the upper hand on the pandemic, especially in parts of California, where state officials say Los Angeles is the first county in the nation to report more than 1 million cases. Around 14,000 of those have died.
It feels like you're waking up to a nightmare every day. It's hard to imagine that many people passing away, and each one of those is a story. It's a family.
The CDC reports at least 88 cases of a highly contagious coronavirus variant, first identified in the UK, were confirmed in 14 states, and that the country has yet to see the full ramifications of spread caused by holiday travel.
It's going to take weeks, if not months, to do the setup things that are necessary. We're all going to have to be patient. I do think we'll get there, but it's going to be hard.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
A recent CDC model found that more than half of COVID-19 infections are transmitted by people who aren't showing any symptoms. 100 new cases were announced in Montana yesterday, and there were 4 new COVID-19 related deaths, including one in Bighorn County. Today is the 35th Martin Luther King Jr. Day. MSU Billings' annual bell ringing ceremony to celebrate the holiday will look a little different this year. At 9:30 this morning, the university will post a pre-recorded celebration on their websites, Facebook, and YouTube pages. Speakers include local and state leaders, the MSUB chancellor, campus minister, and student leaders. Billings Racial Equality Group Not in Our Town held a virtual MLK Day service yesterday. Speakers offered their take on what King would say if he were alive today. They focused their message on justice and the right to vote, which King championed during the civil rights movement in the 1960s. The speakers called for unity among Americans during this divided time in our country.
We must learn from the lessons of the past. There can be no true unity unless we have truth, unless we have justice. So at this moment, when our nation clearly needs to heal, we all have to play our part in that. and not in our town is committed to creating courageous conversations so that we may seek to bridge these gaps. But these conversations must be based on truth, based on reality, and they must demand justice.
Like the Reverend King, a kindergartner in Indianapolis is already well ahead in making steps toward equality. CBS's Naomi Ruckham has her story.
This is the book of the King of Kindergarten.
At just 5 years old, Amor Coleman is a little girl with big ideas.
Hi, I'm Amor. Welcome to the book drive.
Amor goes to kindergarten in Indianapolis, where she noticed the books she reads in class rarely include characters that look like her, so she decided to fix that.
We're collecting books to celebrate Black History Month from my friends at my school.
With help from her mother, she launched a book drive to collect stories about people of different races and ethnic backgrounds, one for each student in her grade.
Here is a page of the book.
Previewing the options on Instagram.
It makes me feel that we can give books out to other people so they can learn about our history too.
She put her wish list on Amazon and the books came pouring in. Instead of a few dozen, several hundred have already been donated. Amor's mother hopes it's been a meaningful experience for her daughter.
I hope that she feels empowered and proud and feel like that she, even at the age of 5, can make an impact at her school and the community.
Teaching us all a lesson about the ABCs of activism.
Don't tease people if you're Black and if they're white.
And why we're never too young to make a difference. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Amor's mom says they plan to use the extra books they're receiving to sponsor other schools and community centers in their area.